Today we are going to start with the form, meaning, and function. You realize that, this lesson, just as a revision for, the previous tenses. So here we are going to use the simple past tense, writing sentences, and, questions. Also, we are going to answer, the simple past and the progressive tenses questions. Then, write yes, no, past progressive tense questions, showing also what the differentiation between the past, simple past, and past progressive. Okay. I think, who can give us an example about, the simple past? A sentence about the past, simple past. Yes.
I studied.
Good. I studied English last night. Good. I ate capsa yesterday. I was good. I saw him. Yes, I saw him. Yesterday. Here we have some examples. They discovered a new land, 2 years ago or years ago. He bought a new house last month, etc. So here, if you want to talk about, the past, what do you mean by past? Something, an action, happened and ended in the past, in a specific time. You remember when we talked about, the specific time, like, the expressions which refer to what? To the past, like yesterday, last week, last month ago, etc. Now we can make questions, yes, no question. How can we make yes, no question with this past? We have to ask with what? Good. We have to ask with did. Did you come yesterday, Ryan? Yes, I did. Did you come yesterday, Ahmed? No, I didn't. So if you want to ask about the past, we have to ask with did. This is what yes, no questions. If you want to ask with, the questions, just you add what, the question word, what? What did you eat yesterday? What did you eat yesterday? Yeah, the answer will be what? Information, answer, not just no question. What did you eat? I ate capsicum. So this is about, the question. If you want to make negative, what should you use? Did it. And the verb will be what? In the base form. I didn't eat capsicum. I didn't eat. I didn't see him yesterday. I didn't see him. Because he was absent. Okay. So this is about the simple past. Now here, if you look at your books, here we have the explanation. I think it is easy for you. Affirmative sentences, negative sentences, and yes, no questions. في عندنا affirmative, negative, the question. طبعا yes, no question. عندنا short answers, yes or. Okay, time expressions. What do you mean by the time expressions? Look at the second box. What did you do last night? Where did you go yesterday? You realize these expressions are called what? Time expressions for the past. Yesterday, last night, last month, 2 years ago, in 1990. Any expression refers to the past. Time expressions like, last night, yesterday, last month. Okay. Where did you sleep last night? I slept, in a hotel, etc. So here, what did they need yesterday? They needed what? Help. How did you buy this car last year? I bought a lot of money. I paid a lot of money. Okay, now look at exercise A. Here we have exercise A. Look at the explanation. What can you remember about hands? Read Rahman.
What can you remember about hands and page 11? Use the list below. Make two sentences with the simple past present simple and
Simple present tense. Good. You remember when we have, conversation about, the two friends, I think, اللي هو Samir or Saud, I think, and Hans. Yes, good. Look at the example. قلنا, what can you remember about Hans and, Saud in page 11? Use the, the list below to make it true sentences. Use the simple past, present perfect, and simple present. Now, you remember when we talk about the simple present and the present perfect. Now, what is the difference between the present perfect and simple past? Present perfect. We use the present perfect. Something which happened in the past, but we didn't know when it happened. We use what? Present perfect. Just to revise you. I have, visited مثلا Mecca many times. Here we use what? Present perfect. Why? Why? Because, here the action happened in the past, but we didn't know when it happened. I visited Mecca many times. So Mecca كثير. But did you know when I visited Mecca? No. So when, the time is not mentioned, we have to use what? Present perfect. Okay, now if we have what a specific time, we have to use what? Simple past. Look here. I visited Mecca in the last month. You realize that here we have what? Specific time. When did I visit Mecca? Here. This is the time of sufficient. Here we mentioned when. Last month. So we have to use what? Past tense. Past tense. There is no, an expression for the time. We have to use what? Present perfect. We have, the expression time, which refers to what? To the past. We use verb. Yes.
When we say I didn't visit,
We use did here if you want to emphasize the action. We use, for example, if you want to emphasize, the action, we use did. At the beginning of this verb. I did visit Mecca last. I did visit Mecca. Okay. We use this form if you want to emphasize the action. استخدم هاي الشكل. I did visit Mecca. It means just I want to emphasize the action.
what about present Mecca? Can you say it again?
Here, present perfect. Now, did you know when I visited Mecca? Here in the first sentence?
No.
No. So if you don't know when, the action happened, we have to use the present perfect. إذا احنا ما نعرف متى صار الفعل, you realize that it happened where? But we didn't know when. صار في الماضي لكن احنا ما نعرف متى. I have visited Mecca many times. أنا زرت مكة كثير. طب تعرف متى أنا زرتها? Did you know when I, visited Mecca? No. So in this case, we have to use the present perfect form. لكن لما, when we say, I visited Mecca last month, when I, visited Mecca. عارف when I visited Mecca last month. So here we have to use what? Simple past. But present perfect is used with actions, we didn't know when, they happened. This is one use of present perfect. We have another use for the present perfect. لما قلنا exactly this. Yeah, after it isn't perfect. You know, when the action started in the past, still happening up to now, and may continue in the future with an answer about before or since or for. I have lived in Riyadh for 15 years. It means that, I came here 15 years in the past, 15 years ago, and, I'm still living in Riyadh, and, I may continue in the future. Then another use for the present perfect, an action started in the past, happening now, and, continue in the future.
The subject of the work is still there. Will we get our marks first just halal?
Okay, Heather, I will show you mark, shall we? Just I will check up them. You will see your. Okay. Then here, Hans wasn't born in Leipzig. He was born in Berlin. This is what, the sentence. I think it is a true for Hans. Now, what about number 2? Hans isn't from Leipzig. His family is from what? Yes. Number 2. Hans isn't be from Dubai. He isn't from Dubai, remember. He isn't from Dubai. He is from. Hans isn't from Dubai. Saud isn't from. Yes, Hans isn't from Dubai. Saud is from Dubai. Now, what about the third? Hans didn't move to the West, Germany. His grandparents moved to the West Germany.
وسيم وفلان بدأ يتجوز
Saud has been in Berlin for what? For 3 years, and he is still, up to now. Then Saud has been in Berlin for almost 3 years. What about the next, number 5?
Number 5, he is born in Berlin. Saud wasn't born in Berlin.
Hans was born. Good. Saud, wasn't born in, Berlin, but Hans was, born in Berlin. Good. Isn't from Germany. Hans is from Germany. Saud isn't from Germany, but Hans is from Germany. Next biologist. Who is a biologist? Saud. Good. Saud is a biologist. Good. The next. Who has a good job? Saud. Good. Saud has a good job. Who has lots of friends? Aidan Saud has lots of job, lots of friends. Who's happy? Aidan Saud. Good. Saud is happy. So this is about the exercise A. Now, and we have a new structure, which is past progressive. Past progressive. Something which was in progress, where in the past. Something was happening, No, it is not still happening. If it is still happening means we have to use the present perfect, okay? But in the past, it was what? You know, in progress, it was happening. In the past, you know, we have what? Long action.
Can I give an example?
Yes,
I was updating the system.
good, very good. Here we have to use was, where, plus what?
I
Yes, where with ing form. So past, you know, progressive consists of what? Was, were, plus verb ing. We use it when, you know, the action or with long actions. When we say long actions, it means that what was in a progress, where in the past. You know, as you know, I was said,
So what about the terms that don't take any sense?
we use, you know, the present simple, just, you know, the present form. Yesterday we have what? I think understand. You know, the scientists do not understand. Yes. Not, you know, aren't to understand. And, you know, some of you just, you know, sent me that, you know, it's okay, it will be both. No, just, you know, we use the present form. Okay, you know, he was staying in that hotel. Now, look at the question. What were you doing? مثلاً, yesterday evening. What were you doing yesterday evening? I'm asking about what? Yes. What were you doing? You were doing something, you know, in progress. Look at the answer. I was eating, I was watching TV. Yes, I was studying. I was, you know, watching TV. مثلا yesterday evening. You realize, you know, the action was happened in the past and it was what? In progress. And, you know, ended in the past. But when it happened, it was what? Happened, you know, it was in progress. It was in progress. They were studying English, for example. I was reading a new novel when you called. Now, if you want to make negative, how can we make negative? I wasn't. Weren't. If you want to make a yes, no question. Were you watching TV yesterday evening? Yes, yes, I was. No, I wasn't. Yes. Were they playing football yesterday, for example, morning? Yes, they were playing football. Good. So this is about yes, no question. Look at the explanation in your book. Look at the affirmative, negative, or yes, no question. I think it is easy for you. Here. Past progressive, affirmative was where, negative wasn't where, and yes, no question. I think it is easy. And we are going to show you the difference between the past progressive and past simple. Look at the example. I was eating when Kareem. Yes.
I was eating when the phone ran.
Good, I was eating when the phone rang. I was eating. You realize now how many actions do we have here? Two actions. Now, one of them is long action. And the second is what? short action. You realize that here we have two actions. One of them was in progress, happening in the past. While it was happening, another action happened. Look, both of them happened where?
In the past.
In the past. You know, this is the past, this is now, and this is the future. Okay, look here. I was what? Eating. Now, while I was eating, something, interrupted the action. This is what was eating. It was happening in progress, but where? In the past. Something happened. Why? Short action, just one time. وأنا بوقف شو صار؟ So here we have two actions. The first action was in progress. The second happened while the first one was happening. Here what? Ran. The phone ran. Then here with yes.
Can you tell me
But
it's about the distance or less?
okay. Okay. Now again, here we have two actions. One happened, was happening, or first action, long action, what was in progress, happening, in the past. The second happened while, the first one was happening. And, you realize that, it continued. I was eating when the forehand. So here we have two actions. First, which we use here, the past progressive, it is, it's called long action. Here, simple past, we use what? Lower verb, simple past.
When I have two long actions, I say
Yes,
I
we
was
can.
eating when my brother was playing.
Yes, مثلا, I was eating when my, brother was studying. We use why. Why is better to use, two actions. مثلا, while I was eating, my brother was studying. Here we have two actions, two long actions, happened in the past. Both of them happened where? At the same time, but where? In the past. While I was eating, Muhammad مثلا was watching TV. So here we have two actions, long two actions. They were happening where? At the same time in the past. It's correct. So we can use what? Long action, long action. Okay. Now we can change, the places of the sentences. We can say when the forehand, but we start with when we have to what? Comma. We have to put a comma. When the forehand, I was eating. So this is about, the past progressive with simple past. Beforehand, when I was eating, and it's always after when, followed by simple past. It happened before. It was happening before, the first one. Look at the explanation. He was studying when the forehand. They were watching the news when they announced the election result. The past progressive, who can read about, the past progressive versus, present simple past? Who can read this explanation here? Ryan.
Use one to indicate the longer
Continuous action.
is interrupted by a short.
Good. You realize here we use when to indicate that a longer continuous action, longer, when we say longer action, happening in where? Happening in the past, interrupted by another, action, it was short action. Hans was walking, okay? He was doing something. He was walking to college. Now something happened while he was walking. What happened? When he saw Saud, Hans was walking. This is, the first action, long action. هذا الفعل اللي كان بيصير في الأول اللي هو he was walking. While he was walking, something happened. He saw Saud. We do not usually use the progressive with verbs like, the following. لاحظ الآن the stative verbs like love, like, want, see, smell, etc. We do not use what? In ing form. Okay. Make sentences. Use when. Follow the example. الآن here we're going to make sentences using when, like the example. Look at the example. Who can read the example? Ahmed. Good. You realize a family eat lunch, a visitor arrive at, the house. So here we have two actions. One happened before the other. One, was happening before, the second action, interrupted it. The family was eating lunch. What were they doing? Or what was, the family doing? Yes. The family was eating lunch when a visitor arrived at the house. Good. Number one. Let me. Abdullah Zafar.
Yes, mister.
Yes. Can you make a sentence using when? Number one. Look at your screen.
Yes. The people sleep, the earthquake happened. The people were sleeping when the earthquake happened.
Good. The people were sleeping when the earthquake happened. Then if you want to take a picture for the, you can. Yes. As a unit, yes, it is the singular. It is used as a plural or singular. Only one. And use it where? Okay. Okay, now what about the second? Second one. Fatima going home, we have friend Nawan. Good. Fatima was going home. She was, in progress, doing something. When she saw her friend Nawal. So, okay. Number 3, Amjad. Yes.
Number 3, when it comes back, he see her. Majid was looking at the trees and he saw a car.
Good. Majid, what was, he doing? He was looking at, the trees. Now, what happened while he was looking at the trees? He saw a parrot. So Majid was looking at the trees when he saw a parrot. Number 4.
Students were waiting for the bus when the rain started.
Good. When, it started to rain or when the rain, started. Good. The students were waiting for a bus when it started to rain. So what were, the students doing? They were what? Waiting. Something, happened. The rain started. And it started to rain. Good. So this is about exercise C. I move to the D, exercise D. Look here. Who wants to start with the exercise D? Suhaib, read the explanation about, exercise D.
Okay. Complete the text with the past simple tense or the past progressive tense of the verb in the parentheses. Add your own ideas.
Okay, number one, can start. Go.
When they were young, my grandparents were very, there was no war in their country. So they decided to leave.
Good.
In September 1971, my grandparents left their hometown to be and traveled.
Good. Here we have to use simple past tense because it is what a short action. Okay. In September 1971, my grandparents left their hometown to Greece and traveled to Athens. So number one, travel. Or number two, sorry. Number two. So number two, this is exercise what?
Exercise D.
D. Number two, travel. Number three, wants to continue? Yes. Good. There, they boarded. They boarded, a train for Germany. Talking about what? Short actions. Okay, short actions. Good. Boarded, a train. Number four. With 1,500 other passengers. Farouk, Haytham Jabbar, yeah. Go ahead, Haytham.
Yes, as the long steam train was setting off, other people on the train
Good.
was
Thank you. As the long, here you realize here we have a rule after as or why. Here we have past progressive. The second part must be what? Simple past or past progressive. As, what does it mean as? Why. After as or why, we have what? Past progressive. Okay. Again, Shiva. As why. After as or why, we have to use what? Past progressive. Like in when, what should we have? What simple past. Yeah, when here, followed by simple past. And here, the second part of the sentence, past progressive. So here, number four, as Haytham, said, as the longest steam train was sitting off, was sitting. Was sitting off. All the people yes, said. Good. All the people in the train cried a final goodbye to their friends. Cried. As past progressive, the second part, past progressive or simple part. Cried. Number five. Next. Amjad. فاروق يلا أمجد go ahead.
Who were standing on the platform and watching the
Good.
train depart.
Good, who were standing on the platform and watching, the train depart. Who were standing. Next, Farouk.
Yes, made. They made their long.
Good. They made their long journey to Germany. Good. Made. And arrived. Arrived. Good. Next. Yes, Laith. Good. When, لاحظ here we have when. After when, we have to use simple past. When my grandparents, stepped off the train, stepped. Yes. That is the last consonant. Stepped off the train, their hopes and expectations. Yes. Where? Because here we have B. Good. Were bigger than their suitcases. Good. Thank you very much. Where? Stop here. And if you want to have your breakfast, you can do this. يعطيكم العافية شباب. Thank you very much.